Hello, I'm Pamela Herndon. I'm a member of the Council of the Civil Rights and Social Justice section of the American Bar Association, and today I am the guest host of the Chair Chat for the section. And we have with us an amazing woman. Her name is Asia Nicole Brooks. She is a native New Mexican and born in Hobbs. She is a graduate of Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where she received her Bachelor of Arts in English and Spanish. Asia received her Juris Doctor degree in 2008 from the University of New Mexico School of Law. Asia is the past president of the New Mexico Black Lawyers Association. She is a former president of the State Bar of New Mexico Foundation and a member of Iota Xi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, one of the oldest Greek letter organizations in the United States. Asia enjoys exploring and traveling near and far with her husband, John, and her son, Emerson. So let's welcome Asia Brooks. Asia, it's great to have you on the Chair Chat.
Thank you for that wonderful welcome.
Well, Asia, it's an honor to talk with you and to learn about your background. But one of the things that I want everyone to know about you is that you are going to be the first African American in the history of the state of New Mexico to serve as the president of the State Bar Association. So where I would like to begin this conversation is by talking about your journey to become the president of the New Mexico Bar Association. So Asia, why don't you tell us about your first job after graduating from the University of New Mexico School of Law?
Sure. Thank you, Pamela. So my first job out of law school was at the public defender's office. And just a little bit of background, going into law school, I didn't know what type of law I wanted to do, but I knew for certain that I did not want to do criminal law. And then my third year of law school changed that. I took a clinic called Community Lawyering. That was my clinical program at the University of New Mexico School of Law. And in that clinical program, I represented juveniles in delinquency matters. That was the same time that I was starting my job search. And so I decided to apply at the public defender's office. I started at the public defender's office, and it was very, very fast paced. I learned a lot during my time there. I made some lifelong friends. I learned while I was there how to think on my feet, how to make arguments in front of judges. I started out in our Metropolitan Court representing indigent clients charged with misdemeanors. And then I eventually went to work into our felony division. I worked at the public defender's office for a total of about 5.5 years. And at the time that I started working at the public defender's office, I did not know, I had no clue that my future would be becoming a member of our state bar's board of bar commissioners, and then, future officer possibility. So, when you just start right out of law school, you're fresh, you're new, you're ready to learn. And my job, just that piece alone, was so much and so kind of overwhelming. And so it was a wonderful job right out of law school. I learned so much.
Well, those jobs sound very exciting, but tell us, what is your job now?
So I currently serve as the Executive Assistant United States Attorney for the District of New Mexico. And I started this job in September of 2022. So I've been here around a year and a half. And when I say Executive Assistant United States Attorney, nobody really knows what that means. But my portfolio includes managing our office's community engagement and outreach. It includes working with our public affairs specialist and our law enforcement coordinator. I oversee our victim witness unit, which provides assistance for victims and witnesses in our cases who have been affected by crime. I oversee our recruitment, our programs, and our initiatives. And so what I really have found that I love to do is I love to ensure that our office is being integrated into the community that we serve. And so it's kind of a non-traditional role, but I've come to that throughout my time in the legal profession, and I found that I really love it. And so this is a perfect fit of a job for me.
Well, it does sound like it's a perfect fit of a job for you and one that I think the community is going to benefit greatly from. But Asia, tell us, how have the jobs that you had right after law school and the job that you're having now prepare you for being the president of the State Bar Association in New Mexico?
So I think that both of these jobs, while different, right? One is being a part of a criminal defense, the other being a part of a prosecutor's office. They are similar. And so I see the similarity as they're both public interest jobs. And in thinking back on my time, actually, all of the jobs that I've had since graduating from law school have been public interest focused. And so that was something that I went back and read my letter that you write to law school when you're applying for law school, your letter of interest, I guess. And I saw that what I really said there was that I was interested in bettering my community. I was interested in basically public interest, right? And so I have been very happy to have kept that goal in each job that I've had since I started, working. And so after the public defender's office, I worked for New Mexico Legal Aid's volunteer attorney program as a pro bono coordinator. Then after that, I worked as the director of our court in Albuquerque, the Second Judicial District Court. I worked as the director of its self-help and dispute resolution center. And so I feel like in all my jobs, I've done the type of work that falls directly in line with the State Bar's mission. And so part of that mission includes, aiding the court in improving the administration of justice, improving relations between the legal profession and the public, improving the relations between the encouraging and assisting in the delivery of legal services to people in need. And so I feel like I have a very good grasp on how we can achieve that mission because I've actually done that work. And so it's not just kind of theoretical to me. I actually have some real world experience that are in line with our goals of the State Bar.
You know, Asia, I really love that real world experience that you're bringing to the table. And it's not experience that's made up, it's experience that you've actually had. But Asia, when do you become the president of the State Bar?
So the State Bar has what's called an officer track. And so once you start on the officer track, you go from officer position to officer position until you become then the past president. And so currently I am the president-elect. Last year I was the secretary treasurer, and then next year I will be the president. So I'll get sworn in at the end of 2024, and then I will begin my tenure as State Bar president in January 2025.
Oh, now that's going to be an exciting day, one that I think New Mexico is going to celebrate throughout the entire state. But you have had an amazing career already. You're in a career that is absolutely incredible. Why do you want to become president of the State Bar at this point in your career?
So it's interesting. The Board of Bar Commissioners is the name of our State Bar's governing body. And so I've actually been a commissioner on the board since 2015. So I've been on the board for a while. And when I initially joined as a commissioner, I was encouraged to run for one of the vacancies by one of my mentors, Raymond Hamilton. And Mr. Hamilton was one of the founders of the New Mexico Black Lawyers Association, which is an organization that I've been involved in since basically law school. And so Mr. Hamilton's opinion meant a lot to me. And I knew that if he believed in me and he thought that I could run for this position on the Board of Bar Commissioners, I felt like I could try. And so I was elected onto the board. But for the first 5 years, I kind of felt like I was just learning the ropes, getting my feet, like understanding about the goals and the mission and the day-to-day of being on the Board of Bar Commissioners. And so then after about 5 years, I was encouraged by another mentor of mine, Tina Cruz, who was the state bar president at that time, to assume a leadership position within the bar. And so in 2021 and 2022, I served as the State Bar Foundation's president. And so serving in that role kind of gave me the confidence to start on the officer track for the bar. So like I said, last year I was a secretary treasurer, and then this year I'm president-elect. And I knew that whatever job I had, right, throughout all of these years, my bar service would be a priority to me. And so it just happened that it kind of coincided with this time while I'm at the office here. And so it was really nice that it coincided with this new position, because part of my job here is community outreach and engagement. Part of my job here is supporting the attorneys that we have in the office. And so I feel like I said, that I'm doing the bar's work in my day-to-day every day.
Well, it sounds like not only are you helping the attorneys understand the community that they represent, but you're also showing them things that they may not otherwise have been aware of. And now that you're in this wonderful position, or will be soon as the new president of the state bar, I think the stars truly have aligned for you. But I want you to know that I have done a little bit of research, and I found out that one of the major items that you get to do in your position as the president of the state bar is that you will be setting out I guess it would be the agenda for the state bar conference in your term. So, what will you be doing to make your state bar conference really memorable?
So it's kind of a good thing that it's not just the president of the state bar that gets to decide what the annual meeting looks like. But I look forward to bringing together, the state bar foundation, and the judiciary to kind of determine how we can have this phenomenal annual meeting. And so one thing I'm excited about is that in New Mexico, our Supreme Court just implemented a new continuing legal education requirement. And one of our 12 CLEs is what they're called, must be an equity and justice credit now. And so Iowa, New Jersey, New York, some other states have had similar requirements for years. But I think that this is a very unique and wonderful opportunity for New Mexico to produce some really wonderful CLE content as a part of our annual meeting. Information about the justice gap, about how we can improve on access to justice, on how, we can approach implicit bias, how we can increase diversity within the profession. And so I really hope to bring some of those topics to annual meeting. I also know that we have so many talented, diverse attorneys in our state, and I am very excited about highlighting them and their work. But I am hoping, and I should knock on wood right now, to have at least one speaker from outside of New Mexico, at least one speaker. And so as the first Black state bar president in New Mexico, as a first Black woman state bar president in New Mexico, I would love to have Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first Black woman Supreme Court justice, be our keynote speaker. I'm hoping that maybe she has some sort of connection to New Mexico, or maybe she has some sort of hankering to get some like green or red chili or some bizcochitos, whatever will bring her here. New Mexico welcomes her with open arms. So I hope that I'm speaking that into existence right now, and that she will accept our invitation.
Well, you know what, Asia, we're just going to have to send out a special invitation to her to watch this interview with you,
Oh,
and she's
God.
going to call you immediately. I am convinced.
Well, I hope so.
Well, one of the things that I also remember about a state bar conference is it will be a first time for many new lawyers to attend. And that's going to be an exciting time for them and an exciting time for you. So, what advice will you be giving to new attorneys who are just entering the profession?
So I would say, um, as a new attorney entering the profession, it can be kind of tough. And I think a lot of the difficulty comes from inside ourselves. Like it's not necessarily external factors, but it's kind of the self-talk that you have. Um, Beating yourself up for not knowing things. But becoming a lawyer is a process, and you're not going to know everything right off the bat. And so it only makes sense that you're going to learn over time, right? And I think that folks who go to law school, folks who become attorneys can sometimes be like very organized, very methodical, which is all very good. But I think sometimes we need to give ourselves some grace. And just let ourselves grow with the process. If I would have listened to myself back in law school, I wouldn't have become a criminal defense attorney because, like I said, that was the one thing that I told myself was like, I'll do anything but criminal law. And guess what I ended up doing? Criminal law, right? And so I think just being flexible, giving yourself grace, and being willing to be open to different opportunities and scenarios that come your way. I think another thing that I would tell newer attorneys is to become involved if you can. Become involved in the legal profession outside of just maybe your workplace, right? Join a committee and join a group, join a section, because I do think that we as human beings, we're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be with others. And so whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I think you can always benefit from being a part of a larger organization or a larger entity, whatever is that you're passionate about. Just taking the steps to become involved.
That is excellent advice. And I hope that there will be just a section where you will be able to sit down and talk to those first-time attorneys. They are going to be so inspired just by listening to you. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for that. But you know what, Asia, as we've talked today about your journey to becoming the first African American to hold the position as president of the New Mexico State Bar, I just wonder, what will you do to make sure that you are not the last African American to hold that position? I'm glad you're the first, but I don't want you to be the last. What have you been thinking about with respect to that?
Well, so I'm a big believer in the saying that actions speak louder than words. And so I mentioned earlier the New Mexico Black Lawyers Association. And so that has been a phenomenal organization in my growth as an attorney and as a person. I'm still involved in that organization. And um, the New Mexico Black Lawyers Association has a very strong connection with our Black Law Student Association at our law school. And so through New Mexico Black Lawyers Association, we provide scholarships for first and third year law students. We provide scholarships for high school seniors. We are an affiliate chapter of the National Bar Association. And so we host our region's Martin Luther King Drum Major for Justice competition pretty regularly, where we give out scholarships to high school juniors and seniors. I'm also involved in the State Bar's Bridge the Gap program. That's a mentorship program where you are able to interact with attorneys who have just become a part of the bar. And so as one of those mentors, I have two Black women mentees who I get to meet with pretty regularly in virtual sessions, and I hope to meet them very soon in person, just to talk about some of the things that they're encountering as new attorneys, right, within the bar. I also am a part of our Committee on Diversity in the Legal Profession. That's a state bar committee And that committee produces a report every 10 years on the status of minorities and women in the legal profession. And so as a part of that committee, I'm able to kind of see trends and understand what's going on in the larger world of diversity within the profession, also to make recommendations of how things can improve. And so I take all of these experiences with me into my presidency, right? And I know that I have huge shoes to fill, but I want to be for someone else what Mr. Raymond Hamilton was to me, right? And so many others were to me. And they made sure that, you know, they were not the last and that I came behind them. And so I want to be someone who has a track record for, you know, pushing DEIA before it was like a buzzword, right? I want to be someone who, when I come to you and I say, I believe in you, it's your turn, you can do this, that then you are inspired to take that leap into leadership just as I was with the folks who came before me and encouraged me. And so that's what I hope that I can do for someone who follows and for hopefully many people that follow.
Well, you know, based upon that plan and all that you're doing, Asia, I'm absolutely convinced you are the first, but you will not be the last. You know, I just want to say thank you, Asia, for this wonderful, inspiring conversation today. You are an amazing woman, and we wish you much success in your tenure as the president of the New Mexico State Bar Association. We expect nothing but great things to happen for you. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.